Let's stay in this vein. Our next question sent to CornyDriveThru@gmail.com from Anonymous. In November 2006, TNA set an all-time pay-per-view record at the time for the first match between Samoa Joe and Kurt Angle.
Yeah.
Which was basically WWE's Kurt Angle versus the guy that Scott D'Amore pushed as an unbeatable badass for a year and a half and did approximately 60,000 buys.
Yes.
1 month later, thanks to Vince Russo's brilliant writing, the same Joe Angle match set what was close to another all-time record at the time when it did 18,000 buys. I understand Dixie was loyal to a fault, but how did she not look up at that and go, Vince, I don't think it's working, and move on to literally anyone else?
Again, the build of Kurt coming in, former Olympic champion, blah, blah, blah. Joe had been pushed as they said, unbeatable monster. Joe had an MMA flavor to his ring style. Conditions were right. And Dutch Mantell took the lead on that bit of business and built it like a fight with a heavy UFC kind of influence where they would work out on video and they would talk on video and they would be talked about on video, but they didn't actually do angles and physicality. They didn't do preposterous, phony scenarios every week. They didn't get each other beat up every week in some fashion with phony lead pipes or running people over in the parking lot or whatever. It was a build to a fight, and they had a great match that delivered, and that was the biggest pay-per-view that they ever did. Not just at that time, I'm pretty sure it's the biggest pay-per-view they ever did. Afterwards either.
I think so, yeah.
And then immediately, whenever they got the news of what business it had done, then old Shitstain jumped in and started building the rematch for the following month, and they started doing angles and foolishness and bullshit, and they dropped to a third of what it was. And, I mean, within a year or so of that, the TNA pay-per-views were not even tracking. It was so low. It was in the single-digit thousand pay-per-view buys. She didn't know who was doing what, and she believed the shit that he would say to her because he's a professional blamer of somebody else or some other strife or conflict or obstacle or handicap or standards and practices, or they just don't get it, or the guys won't do what I say, or the wrestlers don't want to do what I say because it didn't make any sense, or the fucking producers don't want to do what I say because it don't make any sense, or nobody understands what I'm trying to say. If all of those things wouldn't happen, this would have been perfect. And she didn't fucking know enough to know that he's full of shit. And she instead thought that he had her best interests at heart because he's the one that talked nice to her and told her how great she was and trying to be honest and say you don't need to be involved in this because you don't know what you're doing.
Was he the first one to say she should be on air?
I was not there then, so I cannot say, but I bet you. And that was a seed that was percolating from the time she first got involved with the company for her to be on television. Because I'll never forget most of the time she'd come to the TVs in Florida. Every once in a while she wouldn't be there. Most of the time she would come. One day I'm standing outside. The girls' makeup was in the same building, not the sound stage, but the building where the production meeting and offices and rooms like that were. They had a big room and they set makeup because all the girls need to get made up. The guys, not so much. The announcers would, but nevertheless. So one of I can't even remember, and it doesn't matter, one of the mid-level production assistant people came in all huffing and puffing. He had just got off the phone. And while I'm standing there going over something with one of the talent and says, Dixie's just called. She was on a plane from Dallas. It had been delayed, so she's going to be late. So she had just called from the plane phone this production stooge to go in and make sure that the girl's makeup chair was vacant, was available right at 15 minutes till 7 or what time she was going to come rolling in from the airport. So make sure that none of the girl wrestlers, none of the talent that's on air are in the chair so she can get her makeup done. And I said, what the fuck does she need to get her makeup done for? She's not on television. And he said, oh, but every taping, she goes out and carries the TNA belt out and takes pictures with the fans. So this fucking wannabe Real Housewife of Antioch, Tennessee, I got nothing good to say about Dixie. I never have. She was a complete blithering idiot. And if she did have as interesting a sex life as she's accused to, that may be the only thing about her I like. But otherwise, she was incompetent. She was going to run the girl wrestlers, the Gail Kims and the Angelina Loves and the all the girls on the roster out of the makeup chair so that she could get there. And she would get her makeup done, and then she'd go out and carry the belt out into the impact zone and take pictures with the fans and thank them for coming in, which is a nice babyface thing to do if you're the promoter, but not when you have to get made up first and it's all about you carrying the belt around. Can you see Christine Jarrett taking a Southern heavyweight title belt away from Lawler? Hold on, I got to go have some pictures taken. I'll be right back. How about Vince? Hey, pal, hold on, we're going to rewrite Seg 4, but I got to go out and do pictures with the fans. Fucking horse-faced douchebag.
Well, what I was going to ask you before, again, going to the loyalty she had for Russo, if let's say somehow the Heyman deal had worked out, or let's say somehow Jim Ross had ended up in Impact, and someone at that level, we know from the Heyman talks, you're dealing with Dixie. Do you think if it wasn't Russo, she would have been that kind of loyal to a Paul Heyman or someone else?
I don't know. Maybe a combination, because Paul Lee, the first thing that he would have done, he would have looked at her like Trump and he's Putin. This is a blithering simpleton that can be swayed by flattery and praise. I will have her eating out of my hand the more things that I say good about her and worse about everybody else, so I can commiserate with her that if she only had the people, right? He's smart enough to do that, and she would fall for it because she wants to be somebody. JR, when he went down to meet about it, they flew him to Dallas and he met with the old man, her father, Bob Carter. And I don't think that JR he would have been polite and professional, but I don't think that he would have had the patience to put her over when it wasn't applicable to put her over. And I think he would have probably been more likely to tell her all the shit that she didn't know and suggest that she be an owner and stay out of the workings of the company for the sake of everybody. Whereas Paul would have made her think that she was running everything and that her opinions was highly valued and that she was gorgeous, and then do absolutely nothing that she said, everything that he wanted, and then blame somebody else or made her believe that that's what they had talked about. And then she'd have been confused. So JR would have been too honest. That's why he talked to the father to begin with and didn't want any part of it, because he could see there was no way to do this. And Heyman, whoever he talked to, equally saw that there was no way to do this, but I will take the babyface way out, as we've mentioned, by saying, well, if they give me a piece of the company, I'll do it. But they wouldn't, so he didn't, and he got out of it. But neither one of them would have taken the job, nor would they have been able to have done anything with it because of the other obstacles, her being the big one. And then also everybody in their office was a blithering simpleton. I'm not talking about the wrestling people. They hired interns out of high school and old friends that had done other work. I'm pretty sure that, if you're one of those fucking pink Cadillac makeup ladies, I'm pretty sure you can transition easily into lawnmower repair. But they had a bunch of people that had done some things before, but nothing related to what they were supposed to be doing then. There was a few good people in TV production that the wrestling people had gotten them. But when it came to just hiring regular employees, it was her responsibility. You never heard the girl that was responsible for media buys, supposed to be calling radio stations, getting trades and deals and buying schedules and flights of spots with TV stations and everything. She sounded like she was 12. It sounded like, can you put your mother on the phone, please? I think her name was, I don't know, one of those cute little white people names. Some rich white girl on a fucking soccer team at a prep school. What would her name be? Anyway,
Dixie.
What were you talking about? Dixie. There you go.
Well, one last question on this, and then we'll move on, because you were there before and you were there after. How surprising was it to you that she fell out with Jeff Jarrett? At the time.
At the time, I was surprised because I thought she realized that he was what was keeping things going. I think she thought that the company could survive without Jeff Jarrett, which it has in multiple iterations, but only at great cost of blood and treasure.
It's also survived without air. So,
yeah. But no, the one thing, I mean, everybody knows the breakup was when Jeff started seeing Karen Angle. Karen and Kurt were having issues, and Jeff and Karen got together, and Jeff had not told Dixie that was true when it was true. She'd asked him, and I guess he said no, but she found out it was, and then she sent him home, and that was the beginning of the end, the long, slow decline. You know, shortly after, they got both Bischoff and Hogan, which, my God, then you're talking about two collegiate professors in backstabbing, lying, and manipulation, dealing with some kid on the corner that's barely able to play tiddlywinks. So they got what they wanted for a while and drained her, and drained Spike quit putting any money in because of they were putting more and more in, getting less and less back. And then once the Hogan and Bischoff had finished emptying her pockets, turning her upside down and shaking her for change, then they start not being able to pay people. Then they start looking for an angel, as dear old Bert Prentice would say. Then they find poor Billy Corgan, and he thinks he's bought the thing, but apparently they were using Nick Goulis's lawyers that he built Jerry Jarrett on in 1977. And it's been the height of TNA was right before and right after the aforementioned sending home of Jeff Jarrett by Dixie Carter. Because he almost had it going despite the presence of Shitstain. And then a few things worked that he had in motion afterwards. And then Hogan and Bischoff came in and they switched the TV, and then they pissed off the network, and then they lost all their money. And then it became the beginning of the end. So, yeah, I was surprised that they fell out because he's the one that brought it to her. The company wouldn't be in existence if it wasn't for Jeff and his father. It was obvious who was in charge of the thing and who the last word was. Some knuckleheads may have gone up and asked Dixie questions about yes or no, should I do this or that? But everybody went to Jeff. Nobody that I'm aware of was going to Dixie to get advice on wrestling or angles or what they should be doing on television or what. Maybe they were talking nice to her because she's the boss. But you don't go ask the accountant at the hospital how your fucking heart surgery went. You go to the doctor. That was Jeff Jarrett.
Jim, have you ever thought about how different things would have been if maybe Bob Carter, instead of just throwing money at his daughter, had maybe signed her up for some kind of way of learning a skill like Code Academy?
A skill of any kind. I bet she's probably got a couple of skills, but I bet you can't learn them in school. But I'll tell you one thing. The Code Academy graduates, I've been telling you about them, folks. I've been telling you the people in Code Academy, they're going to be in charge when the entire world goes underground. The people on top of the ground, they'll be in charge, and those are the Code Academy graduates. Folks, don't be enslaved to ignorance. Do not be chained in the bowels of the ship of stupidity. No, because now the Code Academy graduates just made the news this past week. Brian, you heard about it. Tony Khan has found out about the secret plot amongst the Codecademians, and that is to bot his wrestling promotion into inexistence.
Well, that's not exactly what he said, and he's not accusing Codecademy, and that's not exactly...
No, that's what because see, Codecademy graduates are running the world. They're the ones that are making all the artificial intelligence. They're the ones that are writing all the code. They're the ones that are overthrowing all the governments. They're the ones that are, like I said, when the lizard people are in charge, they're going to be in charge of the lizard people. And what they're warming up on before they undermine governments, before they engage in tactical warfare and wipe entire countries off the face of the planet, they're working on maligning AEW on Twitter. That's right. These are not bots, folks. They are highly skilled individuals. Folks, there's never been a better time to become a bot. And with Codecademy, you can learn to be a bot on your own terms. One of the best ways to succeed in a fast-changing world is to learn how to code. And all these bots, they're experts at it. So Codecademy can tell you where to code and how to do it. And they can tell you where to take your code, too. Whether you're starting from scratch or looking to advance, Codecademy can help you reach your coding goals by maligning and slandering AEW.
No.
Tony Khan may not recognize your full potential, but Codecademy does, folks. With Codecademy, you can learn the technical skills to advance your career. You can start a totally new one, or you can make life miserable for everybody's Adderall-addicted wrestling promoter. Do you want to learn a new skill to build websites, troubleshoot tech issues, transition into a new career, or make fun of botches? Well, over 50 million people already know that Codecademy is the best way to learn to code, and they make the most entertaining accounts on Twitter. That's because Codecademy not only teaches you job-ready coding skills, but also helps you build unique projects for your portfolio, earn certificates, prep for technical interviews, and compile videos of botches of wrestling programs. So again, folks, you can learn coding languages including Python, HTML, SQL, JavaScript, and more. And you can drive Tony Khan and his father absolutely crazy with your strange takes on AEW programming. You can take Codecademy's programming personality quiz to get tailored career advice. It'll fit you like a glove, or like a suit, or like whatever you put on parts of your body that fits. It's tailored for you.
Could have stopped at glove, I think.
It's tailored for you. We could have gone to condom. I don't know. It'll fit you like a condom. You can get instant feedback. Like, take that thing off. Your code is tested as soon as you submit it, folks, so you always know if you're on the right track. You know, when you submit this code, they've got a button, and they can instantly electrocute you as you sit in your chair if you've done the code wrong, so you'll always know. Folks, you can build your portfolio and get a certificate of completion. It's a giant document you can put on the wall saying that you once completed yourself. You can join the over 50 million people learning to code with Codecademy and see where coding can take you. And as a positive byproduct, you can piss off Tony Khan. Get 15% off your Codecademy Pro membership when you go to codecademy.com and use the promo code EXPERIENCE. That's promo code EXPERIENCE at codecademy.com to get 15% off Codecademy Pro, the best way to learn to code. That's codecademy.com, promo code EXPERIENCE, EXP. Well, fuck it, if you can't spell experience, how the fuck you going to be a computer programmer? You morons. Codecademy.